All right. So, getting started, okay? So, okay, bear with me. The slides are a bit wonky. And if my internet drops at any moment in time, please let me know, okay? I know my internet connection can be a bit trashy sometimes. But, church, right? So let's just start this time with a very quick verse. Oh, I deleted my notes on this verse, but never mind. Never mind. So, um, 3 John, the third book of John, 3 John verses 3 to 4 says, For I rejoiced greatly when the brothers came and testified, hold on, I need to move, to your truth, as indeed you are walking in the truth. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. And what does the word truth even mean? Does anyone know what the word truth means? So you can shout it out or type it in the chat, okay? What do you think it means, or what does Google say it means? Google's my best friend. So anybody? Any idea what the word truth actually means? Yay, nay?
A fact.
Sorry?
A fact. FACT.
Mm, yeah. It's like facts, it's about authenticity, right? But that is a very that is when we look at Google. But when we look at the Bible, right? Actually, when we talk about the word truth, it's not just about a fact itself, but it's actually living out. The word truth becomes an action word. It's not just a noun. Is that a noun? It's not just a word. But it's really an action that we live out. So when we are asked to walk in the truth, when we are asked to live out the truth, right? It's when our actions match what we say. Okay, so truth cannot be something that we just talk about. Truth cannot be something that we just say we believe in internally, but we don't carry it out. It has to be acted out upon. For example, if I say, I believe that this chair will not break when I sit on it, but I dare not sit on it. It doesn't show that I really believe that the chair is not going to break, right? I'm not speaking the truth, because there must be some niggling doubt in my head that says, okay, I'm not going to sit on this chair. I don't trust it completely. That's why you're not actually acting out upon it. But when you're talking about true truth, right? When it's complete truth, then you know that, hey, I know I can act upon what it is that I believe in. Okay. And so truth has to be acted upon. It is an action word. Okay. Which is why in the Bible you see a lot of things about like walking in truth, living out the truth. It comes with an action word, with something that you need to do. It's not a standalone by itself. Okay. And that's something that we'll be diving more into as we continue with today's session. How can we live out this truth in our life? Especially in the online world, right, where there's anonymity, there are a lot of things that make us feel like, yeah, I don't need to be the most truthful version of myself. I mean, look at it, right? A lot of people Photoshop their pictures. I'm very guilty of it. Okay. I Photoshop my pictures a lot also. I edit them and all. People, they can create fake accounts, and from their fake accounts then they feel like they can say anything, they can do anything, right? So how do we live out that truth in our lives? How can our offline life, our Christian life also, be lived out in the online sphere on social media? And that's really what we're going to be talking about and looking at today. Okay, if you're not confused or lost at any point in time, please stop me. Okay, so influenza. Who here has heard of the term influenza before? Anybody? Yay, nay. Okay, I see Nicole has raised her hand. Influenza. Evan also. Okay, Nicole also. So, influenza here, we're not talking about the virus, okay? But it's a derogatory term people use to call influencers because they have so much spread, so much power, right? But a lot of times they don't use it for good, or they use it for very like trashy things lah. Like my favorite example of like influencer is the Coca Purple noodles that one of our youth was publicizing last time, if you all remember. But yeah, so we have a lot of power, but are we using our power in the online sphere for positive, for good? Okay, and that's something that we'll be talking about as well. So before we go into that, Hands up. Okay, you all see like on your Zoom, right? There's a raise hand function, right? So can you all raise your hands if you all have an online presence? It can be on TikTok, can be on Instagram, Facebook, if you all still use Facebook, Snapchat, etc. Who here has an online presence? Okay. See, most people have. Okay, yeah, you all can clap or whatever. Just a reaction of some sort would be nice. See, most of us have, right? I think it's only a Sean, don't lie, you have Instagram. Can you raise your hand? Yeah, it's only a rare few of us that don't actually have all these social media platforms, right? So social media is so prevalent. Almost everyone has it, and it means that, if in out of the 21 or so of us here, if almost like 80-90% of us here have social media presence, then how about the entire world? It's representative also. Everyone's online. You can't get away from it. And we spend a lot of our time online. Okay. Research has shown that, like, I think Singapore youth spend like 6 to 8 hours, no, I think 17 hours a week on social media. Which, when you think about it, is pretty a lot lah. Okay. It's probably more than some of us spend studying in a week. So yeah. Okay, so because of social media, because of the internet, right, the world has gotten very, very small. And it's easy for us to reach across the world, to make friends, to do work, and to spark change. It's very easy for us to get news of injustice happening around the world and to do something about it, right? Whether it's by starting a donation campaign, whether it's by sharing the post to raise awareness, or like petitioning, etc. Like some recent examples would be like the whole Black Lives Matters saga. Is not a very good one. The whole Black Lives Matters issue last year when George Floyd was killed. And then there's the whole Israel-Palestine conflict right now, right? So these are like super trending topics on social media where people are using their influence, their reach on social media to, spark change, to bring up conversations about all these neglect population groups, all these issues that are being hidden in the mainstream media. And that's really the power of social media, right? It allows you to what's that word? It allows for you to be an activist. It allows for you to, do something even though you may be far away, even though you may feel like, oh, I'm just one tiny person in a world of billions of people. But that one tiny person, that one tiny post can make a huge difference in the world when people see it. Okay, and that's really the power of social media we have right now. For those of us in like JC or whatever, right, you always do like GP, general paper. You have to answer questions on, like, no man is an island. Do you agree or do you disagree? Social media is good, social media is bad. And I think it's very hard to say whether it's good or bad, right, per se, because it really is dependent on the way that we use it. We can use it for good and we can use it for bad as well. So that's a choice that each and every single one of us has. And it's a choice that we need to make every single day, every single moment that we are using social media. Are we going to use our influence? Are we going to use our social media accounts for good? Or are we going to use it for bad? Okay. So, and people have really done great things with social media lah. There's this, go check it out, okay, called Bible Project. So the Bible Project is this YouTube account which shares about the Bible. They do like summaries on various books of the Bible, various topics of the Bible. It's really very informative. Their graphics are brilliant as well. I love it. And there's so much that we can do online, whether it is for our faith or even YouTube accounts like Crash Course, where you can learn about a wide variety of topics and many, many more. There's so much potential with social media. And right now, okay, y'all, please type and reply me in the chat. But do y'all have any like IG or TikTok or YouTube accounts that y'all follow that promote social change or Christian living? Okay, do y'all know any accounts that y'all are following right now that promote social change or Christian living? I can share first in the chat, okay? Because people are shy. Living Waters, okay. I follow this guy called Rev Chris. He's a pastor in the UK. He's hilarious. Yeah. Anyone else? Yay, nay. It doesn't have to be Christian. Okay, Thirst. Oh yes, I quite like Thirst as well. So that's a local blog that talks about a lot of Christian issues and how we can live out our lives, our Christian faith and our beliefs in our daily lives, you know. Anyone else? Church leaders, yes, okay. I think the name is pretty explanatory. Desiring God, also very explanatory name. I here who may follow like Instagram accounts talking about what's it called, global warming, how we can save the planet, right? About being more sustainable and all. I know of people. Okay, I've never heard of Darman, but I will go Google that. Okay, this is where like I'm just a little bit old, so like I don't know all the channels that you all follow, but interesting. I'll go check that out. Yeah, but there are a lot of us who follow things that have an impact, have a social impact. Okay, there's Kumi Creations as well. Not too sure what that is either. Okay, very old, so it's okay if I don't know what you guys follow. But yeah, on the so there are these characters, these accounts that promote social change, Christian living. But on the flip side, there are also like some accounts that are very divisive, right? Like for example, I follow Xia Xue. I don't know whether you all know, but she's super divisive. Okay, like the things she posts and all, she's low key racist as well. But sometimes this kind of trashy content is just really fun to take part in, right? Laugh at the people. You just like, brainlessly, you can just turn off when you're engaging with these kind of content creators. But how good is it that we are actually following this kind of people? Because what we take in is also what will come out from us. So if I'm always taking in things that are saying like, oh, they're very racist, or I'm taking in things swearing, content that's always swearing or what trivializes bullying and everything, right? Then I also will get desensitized to these issues. And from there, it may result in a my behavior. Okay. And then I may become a bully. I may become a bit racist. But on the flip side also, right, if I'm following like these social change content creators, these Christian content creators, then what I'm taking in is a lot of positivities, a lot of it affects the way I think and then it affects the way I behave. Okay. So that is why it's important to also curate who we are following on social media. Okay. It's not just about ourselves, but also, it's also about what we surround ourselves with. Okay. What are we feeding ourselves? Okay. So next one, I mean, there are also local influencers. We always say that like when we talk about influencers, we always think of like, big names like the Kardashians, okay lah, I'm very old, so like the Catch Me Out There Outside How About That Girl, those kind of thing, right? But they're also local influencers. So we go from the international to the local. And then there's us as well, okay? We may think that like, hey, we don't have a blue tick, we don't have a huge follower base or whatever, right? But each and every single one of us here, we have influence over the people in our lives. It can be our friends, our classmates, or for those of us who are working, our colleagues. It can even be like random people that follow us on social media, right? We have influence even though we may not have a blue tick. But people are looking at us and forming an impression of us, forming an impression of what we believe every single day, okay, as they look at us. And, our actions, our behavior, it speaks louder than words, okay? It's very easy to just say something but not mean it, but it's very hard to hide our actions and to hide our behaviors. So what actually does our social media, our own personal social media pages say about us and our faith? When people randomly pull out my own social media account, will they say, wow, this Eunice, she damn not Christian? Or will they say like, hey, Eunice's Instagram account is very different from the Instagram accounts that I'm seeing. What is this difference that makes her, what is this that makes her different? Is it because she's a Christian? And when people see it, they will start thinking about it. Okay. And can you imagine? Okay, imagine me one day that I'm youth chair. John Choi is the youth pastoral staff in church. If one day you see our Insta story and on our Insta story we're cursing someone out, like say this person, she very everything like that, we're cursing that person out. What will your impression of us be? Okay, what will your impression of us be? Anybody? If you see like me cursing someone out on Instagram, what will you think of me? Okay, I guess nobody has any thoughts. Nobody cares about me. But anyway, if it were the other way around, like if, for example, I see John Choi posting like that, or even worse, I see our pastors posting like that, I'll immediately have a very negative impression of that person. That person's supposed to be a leader in church. That person publicly professes that they are Christian. But why are they posting like this? It's very problematic, right? If you think about it. If you say something, I'm Christian, but you act in a completely different way, then how can anyone trust you? Where is the integrity within you? And I feel like then for me, right, and maybe for you guys as well, I won't be able to trust this person, not just in terms of their faith, like when they say, oh, you must listen to God, you must read the Bible. I won't be able to trust them that. But I also won't be able to trust them on anything else. If, for example, that person tells me, oh, you go try this food, it's very nice. And I'm like, I know that person has lied before. I'm not going to trust that person on this. And so on and so forth. Like, you will be regarded as someone with no integrity, someone that I completely cannot trust. And I think that is the furthest from what any one of us want, right? We don't want to become someone that nobody can trust. When people hear your name, they were like, this person two-faced. This person cannot be trusted. That's not what we want, right? So it's important for us to live out what we believe in, even on the social media and online spheres, okay? So we say that we are Christians, but do we post content that is hurtful to other people? We say that we're Christians, but do we swear on our social media? We say that we are Christians, but do we, film ourselves making fun of people, etc., etc., okay? Point for you guys to think about, to reflect upon as well, even as we're going through all this today, okay? And hopefully, if you reflect upon yourself and you realize that, hey, maybe this is something that I am guilty of, we are not here to attack you, okay? But we are here to, encourage you to bring awareness to various parts of your lives that you may have an oversight. You may have a blind spot, okay? You may not be able to see, you may not be able to realize. And hopefully, after today's session, it will cause you to pause to reflect on what you are doing on your social media, your online personas as well. Okay? And so, integrity. I mean, I've thought so much about being congruent, having our offline presence, what we say, match what we do online, right? And this is where integrity comes in. It's one of the higher values that our church is that our church is incorporating into every single part of our church life. And our church life is not just what happens on Sunday. Okay, our church life is also each and every single one of us, each and every single one of our lives on a daily basis. Because you can't pull ourselves apart from church. Okay, we are all the church of Christ, each and every single one of. All right, and so for the verse on integrity, for the value of integrity, right? The verse that our church is looking at, it comes from Matthew 5:37. So maybe to help us read it, okay? Maybe let's get Nat to help us read it. The verse is on the screen, so you can just unmute yourself and help us read it.
Okay. Let what it say be simply yes or no. Anything more than this comes from evil. Matthew 5:37.
Thank you, Nat. Yeah, and so this is the church verse on integrity, right? And the context of this verse is that it came from when people were taking oaths, when people were swearing, right? Okay, for example, like I swear that I'm going to do something, so on and so forth. But as Christians, it should not be necessary for us to need to swear an oath before we utter the truth, right? As Christians, our word, what we say, should be so reliable that nothing more than by itself is required from us. For example, if I say, I'm going to do this, then I should act upon it. I should do it, right? I wouldn't have to say, I swear before I do it. Do you get where I'm coming from? It should just be like, I say I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it. Or I say I'm not going to do it and I'm not going to do it. It shouldn't have to have all these additional layers, additional things for us to, what's that word? Oh, my brain is really very bad in the morning. We shouldn't have had to have all these extra words for us to qualify what we are saying, okay? But what we say should be taken at face value. That the moment we say this, it means that we are going to do this, which is why let our yes simply be yes and our no simply be no. You don't have to say, I swear I'm going to do this. I swear I'm not going to do that. Whatever, okay? Because if we have to qualify ourselves, we have to swear, right? Then in a way, it means that we are not being reliable, right? We are not being truthful. That if we don't add all these qualifiers, then people can't trust us anymore. And that is where like the idea of sinning comes as well. If I say I'm going to do this, but I don't do that, that is lying, which is a sin. Versus if I say I'm going to do this and I do this, then you're keeping your word. That is integrity. All right. And so, how does integrity play out in our lives? Integrity plays out in our lives when we are being honest about ourselves. It comes when we are not living two lives, right? When we're in church, we are a certain way. When we are with our friends, we are a certain way. When we're online, we're a different way, kind of thing, right? But it's having our one persona that is the same regardless of which context we are in. Okay? And it's important that our online persona is not separated from our physical personas as well, okay? It's impossible for us to say that, oh yeah, my online persona is not me. Especially with social media being such a huge part of our lives, right? Our online persona is really very much an extension of who we are on the daily, all right? And we cannot go to church on Sundays and praise God and worship Him and everything. And then on Monday through Saturday, we curse, we swear, we cheat on people, and so on and so forth, right? So if we're not going to be doing that online, then we shouldn't be doing that. If we're not going to be doing that offline, then we shouldn't be doing that online as well. Okay. And there's this old Hillsong song that's this snippet of their lyrics says, I say on Sunday how much I want revival. But then on Monday, I can't even find my Bible. So where's the power? The power of the cross in my life. And I just wonder how many of us can relate to this right now, right? We say on Sunday that we want revival. We want the presence of God in our life. We want to act out a Christian life. But then on Monday, it just all goes to shambles. We just go back to our own way of living without God, without anything. The moment we step out of church, we start Insta storying. Like, for example, you step out of church, then you see somebody like blocking your way on the escalator. You go and Insta story there, and then you start, wow, this person very how can they block the way? So inconsiderate, and then you start bashing the person online. That's not what we are called to do as Christians, right? It's like we're supposed to live out a life of love. We're supposed to live out a life of mercy, right? As Jesus has given us, as Jesus has acted out. And so if we say that we're supposed to live our lives with these three aspects, right? But when we go out of church, we immediately forget these three aspects. Then what's the integrity in that? Are we able to say that we are being honest with ourselves on Sunday then? Are we able to say that we're being honest with ourselves on Monday through Saturday when we say that we want to follow God, but we don't actually do that in our daily lives?
Yeah, I think at this point of time, let me jump in with a quick one, right? I think that, Eunice has been saying a lot about being yourself, being yourself. And frankly speaking, I think that all of us down here and the message of society today is like, just be yourself, be who you want to be, right? And I think that's very dangerous. And I just want to qualify exactly what Eunice is talking about. Eunice is actually saying your identity is not just you, your identity is that of a child of God. Your identity is that of a Christian, you belong to God, and therefore we are supposed to live out our identity as Christians. And here's the thing, right? And I'm just going to be very frank down here, and you can be upfront, you touch your heart and you check yourself, right? We are very aware right now that we are judged on our Instagram. I think all of us know that, right? Our content is being judged. And whatever Eunice has said, we know that our friends are watching us. We know that our friends are probably looking at us and saying that, hey, he's kind of Christian or not, right? And therefore, you might look at your Instagram account right now and say, yeah, actually, whatever Eunice talk about, right, it doesn't apply to me because my Instagram account is so pristine. But wait, there's more. Let me ask you. Now Instagram Insta Stories got close friends function, right? And then many of you down here, I'm pretty sure a lot of you down here have got double accounts. Why? Because there is one main account which is completely curated to show a very good Christian boy or good Christian girl image, right? And then there's those private accounts where you say, no, these are only for my very close friends. And that's where you reveal your true self, or the part where you are just ranting and you are the most unchrist-like person. But on your main account, it's like, oh, John Choi and Eunice are going to see it. So let me keep them in my main account. Let me not put them in their close friends list. So only your close friends get to see the worst side of you. Let me tell you this, young people. If you believe in God, then Jesus is your closest friend, isn't it? You might think that you're able to hide these things from the eyes of your church leaders so that they don't say anything about you. But remember, if you belong to God, God is right beside you every single day. He's not just there to comfort you, but he's there watching you. He's there, with you in everything that you do. And he sees also, the things that you put on your private accounts and things like that. So the question about integrity is this, right? It's not just your main accounts, but in every facet of your social media life, right? Does it reflect the God whom you belong to? Does it reflect the God whom you worship? Yep.
Thanks for chiming in to clarify as well, John. Yeah, and I think that, adding on to what John has said as well, right? It's not just about our social media, right? It's about our inner lives as well. Integrity cannot just be a surface thing. At the start of the whole entire workshop, I said that the truth has to be acted out upon, right? And that truth comes from within us. So if our hearts are saying something else, but we don't, but on the surface level, we say, oh yeah, we portray a very good Christian boy, good Christian girl image of ourselves, right? Then that is not integrity as well, okay? Integrity has to come from within our hearts, where we believe in God, where we live our lives according to certain values and all that are Christ-like, that are godly, and then we translate all these things within our heart to our actions, offline and online as well, all right? Okay, so in the words of Spider-Man's uncle, with great power comes great responsibility, okay? So, quick poll, do you all think that doing the following are okay? Do you think it's okay to bully people? If it's okay to swear? Or if it's okay to join toxic online gaming and fandoms? Anyone thinks that any of these are okay? I think from the majority, I'm seeing a lot of shaking of heads and everything, right? And yeah, I think, if we are not going to be doing all these online or offline in real life, right, then should we be doing it under the guise of anonymity online, right? So bullying, online bullying can come in a lot of forms, right? We may always think that bullying, is when someone beats you or whatever. That's physical bullying. But emotional bullying as well, or social bullying. So where you post about either people in very pego terms on your Instagram story, for example, or where you exclude somebody from a group chat, that kind of thing, right? Those kind of things are counted as bullying as well. And do we do that? We may think like, oh yeah, it's very innocent. Why I'm angry with, for example, if I'm angry with John Choi, then that I buy song, right? So I go and post on my close friends list that he's not following, that he's not on, right? Like, this John Choi sucks, like right? That is counted as bullying as well, because I am defaming him to other people who know him as well. And that is bullying. We may think very little about it because John Choi can't see it, what? But the people who see it, then it will color their perception of John. and it will affect the way they act toward him as well. So this is counted as bullying as well. Or for example, I create a group chat with everyone in, right? Then after that, I ask everyone to leave except for John. So John just feels like he's being isolated, he's being excluded, that kind of thing. Or I make it very obvious that everyone is in my close friends list except for John. That's social exclusion as well. It counts as bullying as well, okay? And bullying is really very, 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 like the impacts of it on the person, right? It's really very, very bad, okay? Like, okay, from a social work point of view, okay, I'm trained as a social worker, but all these adverse childhood experiences of bullying, all right, they really have very, very long-reaching impacts of the individual well into their like midlife and later years as well, okay? It affects not just their mental health, it affects their physical health as well, okay? People who have had traumatic experiences as a child are like a lot more likely to suffer from heart attack, from diabetes and everything, okay? So, there's a lot of impact on what we're doing online. We may think that, yeah, it's online, just don't sweat it lah. You don't have to take it so seriously, but the person actually is, it really affects them, okay? It clouds the way they're viewing the world. It clouds the way that they view themselves as well. The second one is about like swearing. I think this is pretty obvious, right? Like, if we're not going to swear in real life, then should we be swearing on our social media pages as well? Just because I'm not technically saying it, right? Then it's very iffy, right? But yeah. And then the last one, toxic online gaming and fandom. Okay, so like, I don't know how many of us here actually play online games like Dota, etc., right? But when you're playing Dota and all that, when your team starts losing or your team member does something stupid, then there's this tendency for you to get very agitated, very angry, and to start swearing at that person, right? Like, you stupid person, dishonor on you, dishonor on your family, dishonor on your cow, right? And so just think, how would that person feel about it when you are swearing at them, when all this is happening, okay? Or even toxic online fandoms. Don't know how many of you are K-pop fans, but K-pop fandoms can be very, very toxic. Like the moment you say, oh, I don't like BTS, then all the armies are going to come down and like start canceling you on social media and everything like that, okay? Just because of something very innocent. And, is that okay? It's not, right? I mean, we have established here that most of us think that it's not okay. So if it's not okay for us to be on the receiving end of it, then it's also not okay for us to be on the giving end of it, okay? We won't like to be receiving it, so we shouldn't do it. And just because, other people are doing it doesn't mean that it's okay for us to do it. As Christians, we are called to a higher standard than the rest of the world is, okay? To not just live according to the standards of the world, but to live according to the standards of God, which are a lot higher. And so, on the internet, a lot of people hide under the mask of anonymity. They say outrageous things, right? But, for us as recipients, it's a reminder for us to not take it too hard, to not be overly affected by it, hopefully. But at the same time, it's also for us to remember that, just because we are hidden under the mask of anonymity doesn't mean that we can do any and everything. To not be so aggressive, to not be so hateful, but to take a chill pill, consider what you're going to say, consider what you're going to post before you actually do it, all right? Because once it's out there, you can never take it back. Which comes to the point of loving your neighbor as yourself. Okay, we need to remember that people on the other side of the screen are also humans like we are. They have feelings, they have emotions, and they get affected by what they see, what they read as well, okay? There's this content creator that I really like called Slice and Rice, right? It's about this couple from the States. And every time the woman cries, right, because she's happy or sentimental, she'll always caveat it with this sentence: I don't want to cry because the viewers will think I'm faking it for the views. And can you imagine how sad it is that, on a video diary kind of channel, that someone can't even express their own emotions because they're afraid of haters? It's crazy, right? That, people will say like, oh yeah, she's faking it, but when she's really actually meaning what she feels, she's being authentic to herself, but people are bashing her about it. And so, like, even though we have a lot of power because we are anonymous, it doesn't mean that we can just beat other people down because of it, right? We need to have empathy to think about how other people feel as well, okay? What happens if you are the one who is getting mocked? What happens if you're the one getting bullied? How will you feel? You won't feel good about it, right? So likewise, the other person on the receiving end is not going to feel good about it as well. So it's important for us to do people what we want others to do unto us, okay? And that's very important, okay, to put ourselves in the shoes of other people, which, moving forward, is one of our key handles, all right, on how to actually live out a life of integrity online. Like, we always say things online, they're very transient, they're very fast paced, but what we say has a permanent, lifelong impact on the other person, okay? I was watching this Korean drama recently, and in the drama, this worker, this employee, he posted on some forum page that his boss is not a human, he's a monster. But right after he posted that, he deleted it. And the boss came down on him and said, like, how can you post all this? And the guy was like, but I deleted it. And the boss told him, but it's in my mind already. It's seared in my mind. Can you delete what is in my mind? And the answer is none of us can delete what is already in somebody's mind, right? So before we even post, before we even like say things, right, it's important for us to do a self-vibe check to consider the consequences, consider what we are saying as well. Okay, so some points is to really empathize and to understand where other people are coming from. Okay, just because they have different views doesn't mean that they are definitely wrong. And also to consider how you feel if you were in the shoes of the other person. And okay, this is a pro tip from a counseling perspective as well, but to give yourself some time to cool off before posting or to remove yourself from the situation completely. So jumping back to the analogy about Dota, right? So I know a lot of people who every time they play Dota, they get very agitated, they start swearing and cursing and everything. So what they have done is to completely delete Dota from their computer and stop playing Dota, okay? Remove yourself from the situation that is causing you to sin, okay? The Bible says flee from temptation. Or if, it's something that like, it's not a consistent thing, but sometimes you just feel very angry when you see something, right? Then give yourself some time to cool off before you post. Like how we are asked to like, take a deep breath and count to 10 before we answer people when we are very angry, right? Do the same thing on Instagram, okay? Cool off and then read through what you have typed first. And then if you realize that, hey, this is really not right, then delete it, don't post it, okay? Don't ever post something in the moment of anger or a moment of heightened emotions, because when your emotions are heightened, right, it's very hard for you to give a rational assessment of the impact of your posts, of your words. And the last one is it's okay to disagree, even if they don't like your favorite K-pop band, okay? Like, so my best friend and I, if you don't know my best friend Tanuki, right? She loves iPhone, I love Android. And both of us had many, many, many arguments over the years about which is better. But we are still friends because we realize that it's okay to disagree on certain things. And just because we disagree doesn't mean that she's a bad person or that I'm a bad person, and that we should be fighting each other or cursing each other out because of it, okay? We need to realize that people are more than just what they say or what they post. We need to remember that they are full human beings with a full spectrum of thoughts, feelings, emotions, experiences that are blind to what we can see online alone. Okay? So, just a very quick reminder, don't let the cover of anonymity con you into thinking that you can do anything you want, okay? We need to live a life of integrity where what we say, what we believe is reflected in what we do, even on social media, even when people cannot see it in our close friends list or whatever else, okay? When there's anonymity, we need to still have this level of integrity, this level of congruence, where what we say is what we believe is what we do as well. Okay? And to end off, right, with a meme. I love memes, okay? But it says that, in the Bible, it says, a new command I give to you, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. So a clown may come and ask, but what if they are gay or of a different religion or have less money than me or don't have a home or have a different skin color or were born in a different country or vote for someone I don't like? But Jesus says, did I stutter? Love your neighbors as yourself, okay? Regardless of what they say, regardless of their beliefs, their mindset, their values, we are called to love them, okay? It doesn't say love your neighbors only if they are the same as you, but it says love your neighbors as yourself, okay? So with that, we have come to the end of today's workshop.